Hello, friends. So, today, as part of the NMLS exam preparation, we will go through a couple of most important aspects that you should be remembering for sure for the exams. So, that is basically four or five aspects, which are what are the housing expense ratio, the front end or called as the front end ratio for these loans, what are the total debt to income or the back end ratios for these loans. How are these loans different? What are the minimum down payment amount that's needed or the percentage that's needed? What is the late fees for each of these loans? And what is the maximum seller concession that's viable for these loans? So this is a chart that I prepared while preparing for the NMLS exam, and this was been very helpful. So let's start with the conventional loans. Conventional loans is the most traditional loan. The housing expense ratio, the front end ratio is 28 percentage, and the total and the back end ratio is 36 percentage. The way I remember this is 2 plus 8 is 10, and the back end ratio is one more than two, which is three, and then the total should come to nine. So the total for the front end comes to 10, and the total for the back end comes to nine. So that's how I try to remember the ratios for the conventional loans. All the calculations are based on the lowest sale price or the appraisal value for the loan amount. So let's say that there might be tricky questions saying that the sale price was 190K, whereas the appraisal was 200K. So what should we use for our calculations is the lowest of the sale price or the appraisal value. So that's something which we always need to keep in consideration while we um, calculate the loans for each of these. Okay, so the late fees for the conventional loan is 5%. And the seller concession, if your loan to value is less than is greater than 90, you have the seller concession is going to be small. That's 3%. If it's 75 to 90% loan to value, that means you have a lot more equity than the loans, then the seller will give you 6%. If your loan to value is less than 75, that means the consumer have already given 75 percentage of equity. That means the seller will give bigger concession, and hence a 9% seller concession. So if it was an investment property, irrespective of the LTV value, the maximum seller concession that's possible is 2%. Always remember that investment properties doesn't get any kind of concessions or they get the least amount of favorable aspects in terms of down payments or the seller concessions and so on. Okay, so now let's move on to the FHA loans. FHA loans, the importance is that the government lenders uh, insures the mortgages. The housing expense ratio, the front end ratio is 31 percentage, and the back end ratio is 43 percentage. So you one aspect that you can remember is FHA has the one of the most favorable aspects for back end ratio. They have the 43 percentage debt to income ratio that they allow. How I remember the FHA loan percentage is 3 plus 1 is 4 percentage, and that's basically where the 4, that's basically how the back end ratio starts with. So it starts with 4 and then a minus 1. So these are just tricks for my brain to remember all these numbers. So what's special about FHA? Government insures these mortgages. The minimum down payment that's needed for FHA is 3.5 percentage. The late fee is 4 percentage, and the seller concession is 6 percentage. So another aspect that you can remember is the late fees is other than conventional loans for all other loans it's 4 percentage. The seller concession by default, but on a normal means it's 6 percentage. So you can say that USDA is 6 percentage, FHA is 6 percentage, conventional loan our typical LTV value is 80. So for that it's 6 percentage. So anything other than that, uh, you for conventional loan it's plus or minus 3, and for VA loans it's 4 percentage, which is same as its late fee. Okay, now let's go to VA loans. VA loans don't use any kind of front end ratio. That's very tricky as well. So in the exams, they are going to ask very specifically about the VA loans. What could be your front end ratio? And one thing that we need to remember is we don't use front end ratios for VA loans. Okay, so what's special about the debt to income ratio for the back end ratio for VA loans? It's 41%, and so is USDA. USDA is also 41%. The government agencies guarantees the loan. There is no insurance for the VA loans. It's they guarantees the loan, and the maximum guarantees that they provide is 25 percentage. So there is no down payment that's required for a VA loan. Same with USDA loans, there is no down payment. The late fees, it's all across its 4 percentage, other than the conventional loan, which is 5 percentage. VA loans have most favorable. mm, uh, yeah, Another aspect of concession, the seller concession is it's 4 percentage. It's same as its late fee. Now let's move on to the USDA loan. So who gives the money for this USDA loan? That's one thing that we need to keep in mind. The government lends the money to fund purchases in the rural areas. So the government is the one who lends the money. It's not the other organizations. Government lends the money to fund purchases in rural areas. So how do you what do you how can we remember that it's 29 percentage and 41 percentage? So it's 1 percentage more than conventional loan. So that's how we got 29. And then the 41 percentage, it's same as the VA loans. So I always try to keep this grid in mind when it comes to these loans, all the four loans and their percentages. This helps me with all the calculations. So as we discussed before, the seller concessions by default a normalized value 6 percentage. The place where it differs is for investment properties, it's 2 percentage. For conventional loans based on the LTV value, as the loan value increases, the seller concession reduces. So it's plus or minus 3. And for VA loans, it's 4 percentage. So I hope this grid was helpful. And if you're looking for these notes, I'll be providing them in the description below for where you can get it downloaded. See you guys soon in the next one. Thank you.